Welcome to Almost Agreeable.
Almost Agreeable.
With your hosts, Chris Nellison and Ed Harris. Hang around and listen to opinions on sports, movies, music, and whatever else pops in our head.
Okay, and welcome back to another episode of the Almost Agreeable podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris. With me, as always, is Ed. And before we get started today, we kind of hit like a personal milestone. Ed and myself, this is episode 20. We're 20 episodes in. So for those of you who've been with us the whole time, we appreciate that. Continue to listen, hopefully, and tell your friends. We would like to keep going.
Yeah, it's been fun. Like it is kind of weird to think about that. Okay, yeah, it is already 20 episodes. Couple weeks in, and it's like, oh, that kind of went by pretty quick.
Right. And we, obviously there's just unlimited amounts of things to talk about. I know, don't forget, you guys, that we're still, in the middle of our Star Wars series of episodes, right? We're doing 6 of those, so only 1 has come out so far. So that's something I'm looking forward to talking about, but there's just so much. So, and then on the sports side of it, obviously that's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. No, I mean, neither of these topics are... Well, both of these topics are never ending.
Yeah.
So it just is endless, and we can just keep going forever.
Yeah.
It's the plan, right? Till we're dead. And then we keep going.
Yes, in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
First podcast from the grave.
From the grave. Posthumously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about mortality right now.
Okay.
Especially after the last music episode, we're talking about Forever 27. I mean, I'm over that hump, but still don't want to talk about mortality. So let's jump right into our next decade of music, right? We left off with the 70s, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into the 80s, which is a wide variety of different kind of sounds in that decade, right?
It's your favorite decade.
Mine?
Yes, come on.
No.
Come on.
Me?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's I guess...
Okay, really, it's you have the 60s, which we kind of talked about. Like, of course, as time goes on, music just expands, right?
Does different things.
So, in the 60s, we had kind of central sound. In the 70s, that grew. Like, in the 70s, Zeppelin was like, whoa, that's hard.
Yeah.
Sabbath was like, whoa, that's hard. That's too much,
yeah.
even. And then we get into the 80s, and it's getting into all these different kinds of rock, delving into metal, glam, thrash, doom, all these different types of metal. And then pop is changing as well.
Pop, yes.
Like, it is completely different than what everything else was. It just keeps expanding.
I guess you're right. Maybe because of that reason, it could be my favorite, because my rotation, like, on my playlists is, like, it's an ever moving of, like, glam, thrash, heavy, rock, all that. And then there's a bunch of pop thrown in there. There's, like, early 80s, like, the beginning of rap. Towards the late 80s, you're starting to get that. And so, yeah, my rotation is full of mostly 80s, I would say. So I'm excited to talk about a lot of these bands. I have some good hot routes for you later on.
Perfect.
But who do you want to start with? I mean, we opened the decade, right? 1980. And let's talk about some glam metal. I mean, we can do that. Some glam rock.
Okay.
Some hair metal.
Some good hair metal.
Yeah. I mean, do you consider Van Halen to be in that genre of rock?
I don't think they're glam.
Okay. Or hair?
I think if anything...
Is hair and glam the same thing?
It's not.
There's like a slash in there.
There is, but only barely.
Okay.
Like, hair metal is really just about the hair, and glam metal is more about what they actually look like. Like, it's glamorous.
So, for example, are you saying, like, Motley Crue would be glam and Poison would be hair? Or vice versa?
I'd say vice versa.
Okay, vice versa.
Poison would be more glam metal to me.
Okay. All right, so, let's talk about Van Halen. Because we already know they debuted, album comes out in late 70s. And a conversation for another time, we'll talk about how great that album was. But they continue to kind of be the pioneers of, I would say, that kind of, still that rock from the 70s combined with the showmanship of David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
Right, and the guitar playing of Eddie Van Halen, who...
The virtuoso that he is.
Yeah, you say that, but I've spoken to a lot of haters on Van Halen. And to be quite honest with you, I know... Well, I don't know, but there's a few guitarists I like a lot better and I think are better guitar players than Van Halen, than Eddie Van Halen. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And we could have that conversation, but what does better mean? What does better mean? Because you could have somebody playing lightning fast that somebody as the likes of, I don't know, maybe today John Mayer couldn't do. But as of right now, today, John Mayer is one of the best guitarists in the world. But maybe he can't do the speed. So there's different styles. How do you determine best, I guess, for yourself?
Having never played guitar before, I guess I can't speak to what you're talking about, like the speed and all that stuff. But to me, it's like, I think a big name that comes to my head is a lesser-known artist named Yngwie Malmsteen.
Ooh, lesser known to who?
A lot of people that think they know fucking rock and roll.
Spell his name.
It starts with a Y.
It does.
It's like Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, my mom was the first one to introduce me to him.
Oh,
Yep.
really?
Yep. I forget what I was listening to. I think I was listening to Metallica, and she was like, "You ever heard Yngwie Malmsteen?" I was like, "What'd you say to me?"
Who is that? What language are you speaking?
Exactly.
Yeah. No, my dad, obviously, that's where it came from for me and my dad.
Oh, yeah.
With Yngwie. But, so, I mean, I guess I can't really speak to being better. I guess there's guitarists I like better
Yeah.
than Van Halen. But that's not to take away from what they did. Like, I mean, you have your debut album, Van Halen, and then they come out with Van Halen 2, which I enjoy. That's got some bangers on it.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's good.
Hard to follow up, like, one of the greatest albums, but,
Right.
I mean, still, like, kind of almost matches it.
Yeah, and like, it's the same kind of feel. It's got, David Goff's signature with, like, a cover on there, like Pretty Woman or something. I don't know.
Naturally, rock star stuff.
Yeah, he's such a ham, that guy.
He's a classic rock star.
Yeah, he is. Well, if we're talking about classic rock stars, what do we consider guys like Tommy Lee and Vince Neil? Are those guys classic rock stars, or they take it to another level? That's another thing in the 80s, is like the partying kind of got ramped up, I would say, as far as like the metal scene.
Oh, big time. I mean, I'd say in most scenes, like, things just started becoming more prevalent. I mean, drugs have always been prevalent.
Big time.
In music, I mean, in famous people's lives forever.
But you can definitely tell that everyone was doing coke in the 80s.
Yeah. You got a lot more reports of all of these. Like, some of these reports making it into the news. Like, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, they're kind of doing it, we get it. It's just like, whoa, these guys, like, yes, like the movie The Dirt, I understand some things are ramped up because it's a movie for the pleasure of us. But a lot of that stuff did still happen.
Oh, yeah. It's like a lesser-known movie. Like, I wouldn't even call it a biopic. It's just kind of like a look back at that rock star era or lifestyle. It's actually called Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
And that got terrible reviews, but, I mean, that gives you another glimpse into kind of how it was. Like, just, crazy and women and drugs and alcohol and throwing TVs out the hotel window. That's what I think about when I think about these bands from the 80s.
Just the reckless nature that they would have on and off stage.
Yeah, and I guess it's illustrated most by Motley Crue, I would say, right? Motley Crue is one of those bands where it's like, yes, you mentioned The Dirt, the movie that was on Netflix, but even before I saw that, I knew those fools were crazy.
They were heinous, yeah, for sure.
They were terrible. They were terrible people.
They are really not good people.
No.
But damn, if Kickstart My Heart doesn't get me hype,
dude,
every single time.
Every time. What's another one that is Kickstart and then Wild Side gets me hype?
Wild Side's good.
Yeah.
And I mean, who can? Of course, we're talking about like all the hits, but I mean, like, how can you not get excited about Girls, Girls, Girls? That's three of the best things in the world.
Well, I would say a big part of like all that being hyped by those songs, or any Motley Crue song in general, is how hard Tommy Lee is hitting the drums. He can hit them.
He's ready to just destroy some drums upside down.
Yeah, it's wild. So I always listen on that when I'm listening to any of that stuff. It's just his drums. I don't want to spend too much time, obviously, on Motley Crue, the degenerates that they are, all the stories we could tell and the things we could talk about. We should just we should leave it there.
Yeah.
Maybe we could return. Who else are you thinking about?
But I was really thinking of Prince.
Prince?
Buddy.
So we're getting into some poppy stuff. I mean, we have to. Like, obviously, we have to.
Okay, yeah, Prince was, like, poppy, but I wouldn't even say that. Prince, I think his entire genre is his own thing. He's legendary. It's, like, he does whatever he wants. Like, he had Purple Rain, He did the soundtrack to Batman.
To Batman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. People forget. Or people don't forget. Maybe people don't realize.
I think people just don't realize.
Yeah.
That
Something they forget.
He did the soundtrack to 1989 Batman. So he does.
There was a lot of heat on like Warner Brothers for that. Like,
there was.
They were like, "What the fuck are you?" But it was good. Like it went with the movie. It was fine. It was good.
But yeah, like that. So just Prince is iconic, and his, I mean, rip in peace to him.
R.I.P.
Legend status for sure. But I mean, he remained relevant, not as relevant as he was in the 80s for sure. But I mean, his Super Bowl performance at the time was the most viewed Super Bowl halftime show ever, and it remained that a couple years after.
Yeah, it's just a tribute to how popular he was in the 80s, into the 90s, and people still remember this. So when you say Prince is going to do the halftime show, everyone's like, I'm going to watch that.
Yeah.
Like, and for people like, I don't know, people who maybe didn't, or like didn't realize that he could still do that, were like, what the fuck? Like, why do you... And then they saw it, and they're like, maybe I don't like the music, but that dude is a showman.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's talented.
I honestly didn't even get into Prince. Like, I knew he was playing the halftime show, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I've heard of them. And then he comes out and just puts on a killer show, and I'm like, oh, yeah, that was pretty cool. And it still wasn't until a few years later that I was like, oh, I'm going to start listening to Prince. Yeah. Oh, Prince is immaculate.
Yeah. Prince is on my rotation for sure. If you want to kind of... I guess... were there any people like that? Like Prince, just like the solo artists like that, with like interchanging bands like in the 80s like that?
I don't know about anything like that. I'm just thinking of like singular artists right now, like Madonna. Still like on the poppy side, but like this is what we're talking about. In the 80s, things just expand so much.
Right.
Like, so we have more of the rock that we've been sticking with, but now we have this Prince, this Madonna mindset, and it's really nice to see different sides of music become popular.
Yeah, and I think that was like the forefront of that. Like you had essentially in the 70s an explosion of like rock and roll, and then in the 80s that continued to evolve, but then you had, like people like Prince, Madonna, and then I'm gonna throw this out here, like bands like The Cure.
Yeah.
That gets kind of more into your poppy side. I don't even know like if that's even
The Cure. I wouldn't say
that isn't even pop. We haven't got to pop yet, because I'm talking about pop. We're talking about like Tears for Fears.
Yeah.
Bands like that.
Yeah. So many
Notes.
one-hit wonders in the 80s. Oh god, Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates.
But like, that's some
shout out, Tony.
Gotta listen to Hall & Oates every Friday.
Yeah, every Friday is Hall & Oates Friday.
What I mean, I think one of the biggest things for me is, are like some of the one-hit wonders in the 80s just really stand out. Like you were talking about Tears for Fears. What's the Simple Mind song?
Don't You Forget About Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which is obviously famously, featured in The Breakfast Club.
Exactly.
That's where everyone knows that. And that was a one-hit wonder because, and I don't know if you know this, but if you've seen Pitch Perfect, you do, that they approached Billy Idol to do that, and he was like, nah, fam.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. But that's one of the things that I think music videos and music in movies becomes much more iconic in the 80s. And that's kind of linking to the Prince doing the soundtrack for Batman.
Right. And then I guess you can kind of, like you said, the music in movies that were in the 80s definitely had an influence on how popular they were. I can kind of equate it to like a lot of the way that Quentin Tarantino scores his films. And he picks songs that other people don't know about, but they know about it after. Like, hey, that song from that Tarantino film was badass. The 80s had so many movies that did that created these one-hit wonders that we know today. Like, you may not be able to know the band or the title of the song, but you're like, it was in this movie.
Yep.
And so, I think people didn't know that Twist and Shout was a Beatles song, but they knew that Ferris Bueller sung it. Yeah. Like, in a parade. So I'm not even saying that's a one-hit wonder, but that's just an influence of the 80s.
Exactly.
And then, we're going to have to do an 80s movie episode one of these times.
Oh, that would be very
I'll be honest,
good.
we'd get into the Brat Pack and Back to the Future.
That's what I was, yeah.
Back to the Future has Huey Lewis and the Nukes.
Yep.
And that's another 80s music right there. That's just rock straight up, right?
Man, when did American Psycho come out? Was that 90?
It was in the 90s.
We just missed that.
Yeah, I think we did.
You like Huey Lewis and the News?
He's such a psycho.
What's the guy's name he kills? Jared Leto. What's his name in the movie?
Oh, it's escaping me. Paul.
Is it Paul?
It's escaping me right now.
It's Paul something. Hey, he's like, hey, Paul, and then he hits us in the fucking head.
Yeah, I guess I would say I do like Huey Lewis in the News.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is, not in the 80s, but still, it mentions an 80s artist that we can talk about, which is, I think people don't even listen to Huey Lewis in the News if they don't know that it's coming from Back to the Future. Or they don't know that it is Huey Lewis in the News. They're just like, yeah, power love. Yeah. Like, yeah. I kind of want to jump back into rock a little bit because I don't want to do this episode without talking about Iron Maiden.
Well, naturally.
Okay.
Naturally.
So I think started in the 70s.
Of course, we're going to hop into some other rock and
Yeah. No.
what it's going to be.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
So go, hit it up with some Iron fucking Maiden.
Oh, you beat me to it because I wanted to say, I'll end up saying that again later.
Perfect.
But Iron Maiden, I mean, that's the power metal that, you don't get caught up with like that crazy lifestyle of like Motley Crue. You don't get caught up in like the drama of Van Halen. It's just straight up amazing guitar. A bass line that you can just hear throughout and really adds together. You have bass solos. Like some of my favorite bands incorporate like solos from bassists.
Yeah.
Metallica has done this.
Yeah.
But Iron Maiden, their bass lines in most of their songs are some of my favorite part. And of course, Bruce Dickinson, one of the most amazing vocalists of all time. I'm putting it out there right now, top 5.
The guy is, man, if he's, just give me your top 1. Who's your top 1?
My top 1?
Just give me the top 1.
Freddie Mercury?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that's an easy answer. I have to think about it. You put me on the spot like that. I can't.
I know. But, I mean, I'm
could be Robert Plant. I don't know. See, now I can't think about it. I'm done. I'm done.
I'm just relegating my mind. We're talking about rock. It's Dio.
Okay.
It's absolutely Dio. And, like, okay, maybe some people might not agree with that. Maybe I might be able to make a case for Freddie Mercury or for somebody in a different genre of music. But if we're talking about rock, we're talking about metal, it's Dio.
He's the god.
It just is.
Okay. Well, okay. So, and this is the decade where he was with Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
So we can talk about that. And I think that you had answered that you're a Dio Sabbath guy.
Heaven and Hell.
Heaven and Hell. Well, like, what is it? 5150? E5150.
Mm-hmm.
That's the album, right? Yeah, it's E5150. And so, I mean, yes, Heaven and Hell is great. Mob Rules is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, those are 3 great albums. And if you think about, like, Sabbath with Ozzy, people really only can think of, like, Paranoid.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
people think of a decent amount of stuff, but with Ozzy, it really is that, and a lot of his solo stuff is mainly, I feel like, what he's known for.
And that's a lot in the 80s as well.
Yes.
Right. So you both go on, like Sabbath goes on to have a successful run with Dio, while simultaneously Ozzy's having his own thing going on in the 80s with, his solo stuff. I guess we just didn't even think about him when we were talking about Prince and Madonna.
Yeah.
Ozzy, yes. Ozzy, of course. And we talked about it in the last episode about music that, I love all the musicians he always had with him.
Oh, he's had some stellar guitar players with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like him and like Zakk Wylde isn't like a young guy by any means, but like it's not as old as Iommi.
No.
Like, so it's just him kind of just grouping up with like prolific guitar players like
in their prime.
Yeah.
In their prime. He had Iommi in his prime.
Yeah.
Fucker. But I guess on the same train of thought, this guy is in my top 5 too as vocalists go. Rob Halford. Judas Priest.
I thought you were saying Ozzy.
No.
And I was like,
No. Maybe only because the fact that I can only understand him when he is singing.
Okay.
Would be the reason he'd be in the top 10.
Okay.
Okay, but as far as top 5 vocalists go, Rob Halford. I mean, Judas Priest. I was bumping Judas Priest today. I'd run some errands around town, and I was listening to Painkiller. I was listening to Turbo Lover. I was listening to one of my favorite songs by them is Green Manalishi with a 2-prong crown.
Yeah. My all-time favorite song by them actually is Angel.
Yes.
Slower song, not what you would expect from Judas Priest.
No.
Way slower song, but the intro of that, and really the entire song, is completely the opposite of what you'd expect. Like, breaking the law, breaking the law.
Yeah.
So, but that song just shows his range. Do you know the entire band's range?
Yeah. Not even just him. You're right. The entire band. And then, but with him, the way he can fucking hit the high notes, and just still have that metal like tone that he can hit. It's just, he's top 5 for me.
Nothing screams metal more than Painkiller.
Bro,
the intro and just the notes that he hits,
and the solos on the guitars, and then the ending.
I guess it's just the whole fucking song.
It's the whole fucking song. I'll tell you what's up real quick. This is a quick story I'm going to tell. That song is on Guitar Hero Van Halen, okay? For a throwback to the Guitar Hero days, which I still own Guitar Hero Van Halen and the Xbox 360 and guitars and a drum set, which is now broken. Thanks, Ed.
Oops.
And that song at the end has like this insane drum like closeout, this finish. And the guitar just really gets easy. It's just like a one note. But poor Ed had gone through like the 7 minutes of the song and gets to this part where the lag of the game and the monitor start setting in, and he just can't get it. I'm not trying to put you on blast, but that's how hard it is.
It's frustrating because... Wait, is Painkiller on Metallica? Guitar Hero Metallica?
I think it's on Van Halen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay, well, you want to settle this later?
Okay.
Okay.
But that... Yeah, like, it... When we were playing, eventually, if a song ended up being over, like, 6-ish minutes, 5.5, 6-ish minutes, then the video and the audio start to unsync. And then I'm like, oh, I'm just guessing now. But, like, I'm not. I'm just seeing it and hearing it and trying to play it at different paces.
Right.
And then I'm done.
Well, I know why you think it's on Metallica now. Because every fucking song on it by Metallica is over 6 minutes long.
Yes.
Well, okay, so I guess let's talk about that then. Let's go right into Metallica.
Oh, man.
So they, probably the most influential... hard, heavy, what is it? Progressive power rock?
I mean, they're metal, but they're like thrash. Like a lot of people say they're like the progenitors of thrash. Yeah, maybe not.
Well, it was the
like,
Four Horsemen, right?
Exactly.
Who are, let's just name them for the record real quick. We got Slayer, Megadeth,
Anthrax.
Is Anthrax one of them?
I thought Anthrax and Metallica.
I know it. I don't know if it's Anthrax.
Who is it?
I don't know.
It's Anthrax. I mean, Anthrax was fucking big in the 80s. Anthrax was huge in the 80s, dude.
I stand corrected. It's Anthrax. Okay, I guess I didn't realize how big they were in the 80s. They're just... Because to me, like, I know a couple Anthrax songs, but when it comes to those bands there and the movement that they were started, it basically, to me, comes down to Metallica and Megadeth. I wasn't even really into Slayer. Maybe it was a little too heavy for me.
Mm-hmm.
I like kind of understanding what they're saying.
Oh, I can get that. I can get that.
That's why I didn't get into like Lamb of God a whole lot.
Oh man, but Lamb of God's so good.
It's just
that was okay. I guess this is kind of full circle. My first concert ever was a band called The Sword.
I know The Sword.
Yeah.
They sing Freya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then another Guitar Hero song.
Yes.
My first concert was The Sword, Lamb of God, and Metallica.
What a fucking lineup.
Great show. I was unprepared for how good it was. I couldn't hear for like 2 days after. Worth it.
Did you headbang at all?
Yeah. No, my neck was
Your
hurting.
neck. Okay, I was gonna say because I always.
And it was at Key Arena, in Seattle,
mm-hmm.
and I mean I was just in stands. I wasn't even down like on the floor or anything.
Right.
How old would I be at this time? I would have been 15 years old.
That was your first concert?
Yeah.
That's wild to me. This is a coincidence I think that you and I have, is that your first concert was with an 80s metal band that you now love, like, to death. And for me, my first concert was at Staples Center in LA. It was Van Halen with David Lee Roth.
That's right.
So an 80s band that I'll probably see past their prime. But
yeah.
I'll tell you, he sounded good. Obviously, it wasn't the original four. Michael Anthony, when they split finally again from Sammy Hagar, he went with Sammy Hagar.
Yeah.
And they brought in Eddie Van Halen's son, Wolfgang.
Yeah.
And he was playing bass, and you're doing good. I mean, if you listen to Van Halen with Michael Anthony, the bass is definitely there. I couldn't hear shit at the concert though. It was just Eddie being Eddie.
Well, yeah.
I think the best moment from that show is if you're familiar with the song Ice Cream Man.
Yeah.
It was just David by himself out there with the
Just
acoustic
going.
guitar, and then you didn't even see behind him. It was dark, and then all of a sudden, when it came time for the rest of the band to jump, it was just like, BAM! And it was like, oh, they're fucking right there, and it's just, bam, just went. It was awesome. It was a good show.
That's so great. But yeah, Metallica is just a lot of people don't like a couple of their albums. One of my favorite things is when artists change. Mm-hmm. When they do change their sound. Like, I don't need 9 albums of the exact same thing. I do like a little bit of growth. In whatever it may be, I like a little bit of growth. I like the sound to change so I can appreciate like the same people and the same players, but that talent being used in a different outlet.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
So I do like this is going now past the 80s for Metallica, but I enjoy some songs from Saint Anger.
I do too, as well.
I love Load and Reload, but I mean, if we're talking about their best albums, it could be maybe any 3. It could be any 3 of their first ones. Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets. And then Justice. Justice was also really good, but Lars was just like, hey, Jason Newsted, I'm going to turn down your bass on everything.
It's sad. That's my favorite album.
They just bullied him.
Fuck yeah.
They just bullied
and
him
he just took
time.
it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. He's the longest. Well, I think Robert might have been in there longer now, but maybe. But he was the longest tenured bass player for them.
Right.
14 years, I think he was there.
Yeah. Do you think that, I mean, had Cliff not died, that they stay together, all 4 of them, until today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, easily. Cliff was like the soul of that. Like, Kirk came in to literally be a guy who was an immaculate guitar player, but wouldn't like ruffle any feathers, which Dave Mustaine did.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, but
he's a feather ruffler.
I mean, there's a lot of stories back and forth about how they all suck. They do. They're all kind of.
I think Lars is my least favorite.
They're all rough around the edges, but I mean, you have Lars and James who are really the leaders of that group, and then they needed a guy who wasn't Dave, and then Cliff was really like the spirit of the group. I would say, like he was the heart of it. I think that's a better word. He was the heart of Metallica.
Okay.
The kind of the artistic side of it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's such a shame, obviously. I mean, this shit happens when you're a fucking rock star, man. Like, I mean, think about rock stars that have died. I mean, and then, obviously we don't want to rehash, but Forever 27, but, I mean, it doesn't stop.
How old was Cliff, actually? He must have been, I'm pretty sure he was under that.
Yeah, they were young. They were young.
He might have been like 24, 25. He was 24. He was 24.
Okay, yeah, so pretty young still.
That's crazy young that they released Master of Puppets. He's 24 years old. Right. They're on a world tour.
And that was their 3rd album.
Yeah. Like, and he's gone. That's it.
Wild.
And then, I mean, kind of the departure from that, we have Megadeth.
We do have Megadeth, and I do love Dave Mustaine.
I think one of the best things that ever happened was Dave Mustaine leaving Metallica.
Because then we got Megadeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is no Megadeth without Dave Mustaine.
Yeah.
What's your favorite song?
Oh, God. For Megadeth? That's tough. Boo.
Mine's definitely Peace Cells.
That's a real friggin' good song. I think mine might be like A Secret Place on their album Cryptic Writings.
Okay.
That's a really good one. They have a lot of really good albums, but also like a lot of the songs on their first couple of albums you can hear sound the same because on Metallica's albums because, well, he wrote them.
He wrote them, yeah. I don't know if a lot of people know that. I knew that, but...
So yeah, Mechanics is just a faster Four Horsemen.
Yes. That's the biggest one I think that you can see a similarity in.
Yeah. And well, he really wrote a lot of the stuff into into Ride the Lightning as well. He wrote a lot of Kirk's stuff on Ride the Lightning. Whatever.
Well, I don't want to end this episode without mentioning just a couple bands we've missed.
Hold on. We still have one thing we have to talk about.
Well, maybe
we have to talk about.
Maybe I'm going to name it, but you go ahead. What do you got?
Michael Jackson?
Okay, good. I'm glad. I was going to say we can't end it without these people. But let's go in depth with Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson is not a footnote anywhere. He doesn't get honorable mentions. He is the book.
How do you know I wasn't going to say honorable mentions, but first, before we get there, we're talking about Michael Jackson.
I don't know.
I think
Lindsay
would kill me if we talked about the 80s and didn't and only had him as a footnote.
Well, we have left out some prolific bands in our other decades, but like you can't leave out the guy who had the highest selling album of all time. I still consider it the highest selling album of all time. Currently, the highest selling album of all time is the Eagles' Greatest Hits. Fuck that.
Yeah,
I don't count that.
That's stupid.
No, I don't count that.
That's a compilation.
Oh, I'm gonna take all of my best hits and put them together just to beat this one album that's 40 years old almost.
Yeah, fucked all. Yeah, that doesn't count. You're right. I stand with you on that. And with Michael, it's just like, I mean, you get Little Michael in the 70s, right, with the Jackson 5, and then some solo stuff. He still sounds like a child. And I feel like a lot of child singers, you don't know how they're going to sound when they go through puberty.
Yeah.
And he just fucking got, I don't know, better.
Better
with age.
Iconic.
And, you know, the dancing, like, because now we're not even talking about just his music anymore, his influence. His music videos.
Yeah.
Like, the albums he put together, his dancing, his songs in general, like, it's just the big picture. Michael Jackson's probably the most influential artist of the 80s.
Easily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, easily. We're talking about all these other bands who were amazing. They had a great cast that they had together, but it's Michael.
It is. And then you think about, like, all these other bands that are influential, but I don't know if a lot of people know that on Beat It, Eddie Van Halen is playing guitar with for Michael Jackson in that song. Like,
yep.
that is Eddie and Michael Jackson on Beat It. Listen to that. If you have an ear for sound, you can absolutely, when you listen to it the next time, be like, oh shit, that is Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah. And it's two monsters of...
different genres.
Yeah. Two completely different genres and just two monsters in it coming together to make maybe the best song ever.
Beat It?
And that's not an exaggeration. Maybe the best song ever.
Beat It's great. I mean, so many fucking hits. I mean, my favorite... it might not even be a Michael Jackson song from the 80s, to be honest. Maybe...
Black or White. Is that what you're going to say?
No, I'm not even going to the 90s. I was going back to the 70s.
Oh.
But no, that's just... the song I have in mind is just something I dance to when I'm drunk, so maybe it's not that. Maybe it is something from the 80s. It might be Thriller. I don't know.
Might be Thriller.
Could be Thriller. But Beat It is
Could
good.
be Billie Jean.
Okay, it's Billie Jean. Billie Jean, yeah. Smooth Criminal.
We're talking
great.
about bass lines. Yeah. Billie Jean.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, Michael Jackson, man. Anything else to say? I mean, we could go on forever about it.
Yeah, really. I mean, the guy led a tumultuous life, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, we won't get into all that, but he lived... I mean, he made music up until, he passed.
Yeah.
And when he passed, like, not even just the music world, like, the world was devastated.
You remember where you were when you heard Michael Jackson died.
Yeah.
That's 100% a thing. Where were you?
I was at home in California.
Yeah.
What stand out to me most is, maybe I don't remember the exact details of what was happening at the moment, but I'll never forget, we watched his memorial. It was at Staples Center, and like everybody that you can think of that was a musical artist, not even just musical artists. I remember Kobe spoke at his memorial.
Yeah.
It was a big deal, obviously, in the black community.
He just really, he transcended music like Prince did, I feel like.
Yeah.
And I feel like he did even more to a different extent, but he kind of reached out in different branches.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember I was working at a water park. I was 16 years old. I was working at a water park, and just, we were all on break, and I heard, oh, Michael Jackson died, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay, now we can do honorable mentions.
Hey, all right, honorable mentions.
Okay, so we haven't talked about fucking stupid Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses.
Well, yeah, we didn't talk about Axl Rose. We didn't talk about really, because this is kind of the start of rap, so we didn't really get into, I mean, we have Public Enemy.
Right, it comes in.
We have Public Enemy. I'm pretty sure...
NWA is like 88, 89.
Yeah. So that's late 80s, and I think Salt and Peppa is actually...
Yeah.
In the 80s
you're
as
starting
well.
to get,
Yeah.
Late 80s.
So, I mean, we do still have some, like, solid... This is the foundation. And it's kind of getting past the foundation. We go back to, like, Sugar Hill Gang and stuff like that, but, like, we're getting kind of a better base. We have the foundation already, so now we're getting just a little better base on rap.
Right.
And it really, like...
It's starting to become a mainstay.
Exactly. It wasn't just a kind of taboo thing.
Right. Now it's starting to become prevalent, and then by the time we get to the 90s, it's like... It's here to stay.
Well, I guess it was taboo because definitely in the 90s and 2000s it became even more taboo.
Well, yeah, I mean...
The explicit rating on
yeah,
everything.
Yeah, parental advisory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even like Guns N' Roses that much anyway, so we can skip right to that. Bon Jovi.
Yeah, but you like Slash.
Yeah, I guess I like Slash. Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi. Oh, I think I had that in my notes, actually.
Yeah, AC/DC. I forget that U2 started in the 80s.
Yeah, but it's U2. Like, who's ever just like, you know who I fucking love? U2.
Well, I don't anymore. Everyone knows why.
Yeah.
Everyone knows why now.
Did we talk about AC/DC in the 70s, though?
We did. I think we talked about Bon Scott a little bit.
Because like I like 70s AC/DC more than 80s.
Yeah, I do too. Well, it got to a point where every AC/DC song kind of starts sounding the same.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I can see that for sure.
With Bon Scott, I didn't get that vibe a whole lot. And if we're back to the Cure type of sound, like the Smiths.
Yeah.
Like Morrissey, you know what I mean? That's a big deal. And then just a couple around it out there, like Journey, I guess, started in 73, they played into the 80s. You have like the Police. The Police is my biggest one that I didn't want to leave out, but I love. Sting and the Police, man.
Sting's. I just want to hang out with Sting.
Sting would be another person who's a hero. The music that he's created over the years, I don't really listen to it, but the fact that he's making it, I respect that.
And that's not I'm just kidding. End quote. That's Hansel. That is not me. I love Sting. I love the Police. So I ended on a nice little joke there. That Hansel's so hot right now.
That Hansel's so hot right now.
So hot right now.
All right. So look, plenty more to come down the road. Like when we hash out these decades, it's hard to include everybody. We obviously forget things. Does not mean we can't come back and revisit. I know we have plenty of time to do that. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and probably jump right into Hot Route.
Everyone's favorite segment.
Hot Route's definitely mine. And I'm going to be Hot Routing Ed with some questions. Now, I have a few. One of my favorite ones I was going to ask, Ed spoiled during the recording. So, good thing I have backup. First question.
All right.
Who'd you take in the Van Halen split? David Lee Roth or Sammy Hagar?
Is this a real question?
Yes.
Why?
Why is this a real question?
I don't hate Hagar. I really don't. I just think David Lee Roth is better.
For Van Halen?
For Van Halen.
But
like okay, in the split. Okay, so you're talking about like in the split, do I go with Hagar, like Van Hagar, or do I go with David Lee Roth?
I guess maybe let's do both of those. Let's say right now, first part of this question is who's better with Van Halen? You think David Lee Roth? You already answered that.
Yeah.
So let's say this then. If you had to pick one or the other, like Van Halen aside, Lee Roth or Hagar?
So like without Van Halen,
yeah,
it'd probably be Sammy.
Yeah, it'd be Sammy.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah,
It'd have to be Sammy.
It'd be Sammy.
He had so much more success outside of Van Halen.
He did, absolutely.
Like he was in Montrose.
Yeah.
Right now he's with Chickenfoot.
Yeah.
He has he's by himself. Sammy Hagar. All fucking David Lee Roth did when he wasn't with Van Halen is sing covers of songs that were already hits.
Yeah.
So that dude pissed me off. But yeah, I would take Van Halen. I would take David Lee Roth, Van Halen, but definitely take Sammy Hagar like solo.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, same page there. So no one talks a whole lot about pop from the 80s, but if we're gonna talk about some pop bands from the 80s, who's your favorite?
Like, what's like a top? I mean, like we talked about Madonna, we talked about Michael Jackson, like Hall & Oates. Like, and I'm not there like in the 80s, so I'm not sure like how each was considered at each point. So it's kind of difficult. Is Michael Jackson pop?
Yes.
Michael Jackson.
Okay.
I mean, but not a very close second, but a solid second. Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates.
Yeah. Dude's got soul. Yeah. Man. Oh my God, the voices. Just the pipes on those dudes. Like, you know, a lot of people when Hall & Oates came out thought they were black.
Yes.
There was like, whoa, white man's got soul like this.
Okay, so Michael Jackson. I guess I should have seen that coming. All right. I kind of was trying to find out the difference between glam and hair with you earlier, but let's kind of lump them into one category. Who's the most overrated glam hair band? Overrated.
Overrated? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna first start about talking about underrated.
Okay, so that's my second part of the question.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going there first.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So the most underrated glam metal band is Pantera. Now, a lot of people didn't know that Pantera was actually a glam metal band in their first 4 albums, and well, because they had a different singer. So they're absolutely underrated. But once they got their singer for what we now know as Pantera,
right.
Or I guess they're not a thing anymore, but the 90s Pantera, they completely changed their sound to more of that like Texas, like Southern rock.
Right,
and
Cowboys from Hell.
Cowboys from Hell, Vulgar Display of Power.
Right.
So all of that, but their stuff as a glam metal band in the 80s is fucking sick.
Underrated.
Underrated
Okay.
for sure. And the most overrated hair glam metal band, whatever, is Poison.
Poison.
Were you thinking Poison?
Yes, I was thinking Poison. Oh, fuck Bret Michaels, dude.
That guy, I mean, maybe it's me, but definitely like seeing him on like, what was that fucking reality TV show?
Rock of Love. Rock of Love.
That guy sucks.
Yeah.
God bless. Like, that was my first introduction to him, so it's for sure a bias. But dude was just kind of a chode.
Yeah.
Like, a bit too much, and then like the music's like okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's like catchy.
Yeah, but it's
like,
over,
definitely make
I agree.
like women in the 80s be like, I'll flash my tits. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, no.
I didn't see the Pantera answer coming, but definitely agree with you on Poison. I think, well, yeah, no, definitely Poison. So that kind of concludes today with the 80s. Like I said, I know we're going to get a lot of hateful comments about bands we missed, people we didn't talk about, but that's okay. I urge you to hit us up more with things that we missed so we can talk about it next time. That having been said, thanks for listening to our 20th episode.
Woo! Just like that.
And I'm Chris.
I'm Ed.
And this has been Almost Agreeable. Thank you for listening to another episode of Almost Agreeable. You can catch all new episodes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, rate, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Almost Agreeable.